Hi everyone, welcome to another short attention span webinar. Kelly Malazzi, today we're going to try to get you fired.
Oh, thank goodness.
And you're self-employed too.
I know.
It's really a challenge.
I'm a tough boss. I hope I manage to live through it.
Well, you know what? The good news is though you'll be Employee of the Year, just the same.
There you go.
So getting fired. This is kind of a strange title, but here's the deal. All right, let's say you're a new sales rep, and you've been on the job now for, I don't know, Kelly, what, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, 2-3 months. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right there. And, your sales are not quite what you think they should be. Or let's say you're a veteran sales rep, and you lost a big account. Same thing. 2 or 3 months go by, and your name is at the bottom of the sales poll. The natural tendency is to just keep your head down. That's kind of what makes sense here. And why is that, Kelly? Why do we do that?
Well, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. We don't want to hear the negative things that might come at us if we are seen and are present around the office. And there's also the notion that, look, if I want to stay out of the way, I just should get out of the office. I'm gonna be out on calls as much as I possibly can. I'm just gonna try to blend into the fabric and just stay out of the way.
Sure. Yeah. And who is it you're hiding from?
Your boss, mostly. You're hiding from, again, anybody that can criticize you, anybody that's going to ask you that question. What the heck's going on? Where have you been? What are you doing? And so you just want to, again, just kind of keep a low profile. That's what you would be telling yourself anyway.
And this is absolutely what happens. And here's the thing, I don't know if you ever see me talk about this in a live presentation, Kelly, but I love being in a seminar and having this conversation come up. And what I do is I take a chair and I stick the chair out in the middle of the wherever I'm talking, the stage or whatever, and I say, look, this is what drives sales managers crazy. This is an empty sales chair, and it makes managers nuts because here's why. Let's say you're out and you're making sales calls. You, Kelly, are out making calls all morning long. The boss gets up, walks by your desk, and sees an empty chair and thinks, where is she? Mm-hmm. And then he comes back again. And then he goes out, and then he comes back. And every time he's seen that empty chair. And to the boss, an empty chair breeds assumptions. I'll bet she's out playing golf. I bet she is out having a Krispy Kreme. I bet she's doing anything else but selling. So then you come back after a big morning of selling in the Chicagoland area, and you've got all kinds of papers, you get your briefcase. This is the crazy part. You sit down at your desk. The boss walks by you and says two things. One, where have you been? And two, what are you doing here? You can't sell anything when you're here. Right? It's insane. You just can't win. But when things go bad, we tend to spend more time out of the office, which makes bosses even crazier, and more assumptions pile up. And it's the exact opposite of what you should be doing. So, Kelly, if the problem is that our sales are down and we're telling people not to hide, then what's your solution? What should they be doing?
Well, there's a couple of logical ones, and the number one answer is to not have anything be a mystery. You're an open book. If somebody wants to know where you are, it should be pretty easy for them to figure out where you are. Now, our CRM system should kind of mitigate some of these problems by being able to, people who have administrative access to your CRM should be able to go, oh, look, they've got an appointment at 10 o'clock here, and, so it should be fairly easy to see. But barring that, without that kind of tool available, you should be telling your boss where you're going. You should be saying, hey, this is great. I've got this great meeting tomorrow, and then I'm going to go out and do some cold calling. And certainly it would make a lot of sense to even review that weekly with your boss. Maybe sit down every Monday or every Friday and talk about these things. In one place I worked, we actually had to send out a company-wide email every time we left the building and say where we were going. And so that way, not only did the managers know where we were, but even production knew where we were. So it was kind of just in the spirit of transparency. And so there wasn't that sense of, oh, the salespeople have it easy, they're just out playing golf all the time. So we had to kind of keep that, that information out there and available. And so what I always used to say is be the squeaky wheel about these things. I was always at my boss's threshold of his office going, hey, guess who I just got a meeting with, and guess who just called me for a quote, or guess who just sent me an RFP for a big project. So you're telling it from the rooftops. You're talking about all your successes and all that activity so that it's not a mystery, so that nobody is questioning who you're with or what you're doing or where you're going. So that all of that noise you're making and all of that activity that you're generating is showing I am working really hard. It might not be happening tomorrow, but eventually, sometime very soon, this is all going to start to pay off. So have faith in me. Know that I'm doing the right things. And something that's not mentioned here, but that is also a really good idea, is to ask for feedback. Say, is there anything more I should be doing? And you can ask that feedback not only from your boss or from the owner, but even the production manager. You might say to the production manager, am I missing something? Like, is there someplace, if you were me, where would you make a sales call? And you're going to get some really good feedback there. So be present everywhere, and again, telling the story and asking for feedback and asking for help, and it's all going to pay off for you.
So you have to be your own advocate. That's the thing.
Yep.
You've got to get out. You've got to ask for a meeting. You've got to send that email once a week. Hey, here's everything that went on, and send that out before you leave on Friday. Here's what's coming up next week, because it's not a mystery that your sales are down. Okay, and avoiding the boss, avoiding any kind of attention, that's not going to help you. The exact opposite is going to happen, as a matter of fact. If you don't have the volume, then the boss is going to look for activity. And the only way that he or she is going to know about activity is unless other than a CRM system, it's if you tell them, this is what I've got going on, this is why you want to be patient with me. And I've spoken with my coaching career, I guess, coaching time that I've got with clients. I always advocate for people who are working hard. They're clearly just 1 or 2 phone calls away from success.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we're going to keep you employed, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. In a perfect world, this would already be present. Every great sales manager would already be encouraging these kinds of things, but we know that that's not always the case. So you have to be your own motivator and your own advocate, as you said, Bill, and it's all really great things to help you save your job.
Well, we hope you never have to use this advice, but there you go, just in case. Make
Good
sure
luck.
that you over-communicate and keep the boss informed. All right, Kelly, great job. Thanks very much, everybody. And we'll talk to you on the next short attention span webinar.